Who are they? And it's possible that a lot of those people will be actually fired. And if that happened, that's okay, because that's what we're trying to do.
Secrets to a foreign adversary. Is that immune?
That sounds like, similar to the bribery example, likely not immune. Now, if it's structured as an official act, he would have to be impeached and convicted first.
So Trump thought he could just tell the Supreme Court, hey, I'm the president, I can do whatever I want, and they'd all nod along? Turns out even his own appointees were like, nah, that's not how this works, buddy. The Supremes just delivered what experts are calling a 6-3 smackdown to Trump's immunity fantasy. Our orange friend insisted for years he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. Well, Justice Sotomayor basically asked his lawyer if the president could order an assassination and still claim immunity. The poor guy couldn't even give a straight answer. Spoiler alert, presidents can't just murder people and call it an official duty. Shocking, I know. Remember when Trump used to strut around claiming he had some magical presidential force field? You know, that whole I can do whatever I want routine? Well, the Supreme Court just hit him with what legal experts are calling a 6-3 smackdown that sent his immunity fantasy crashing down harder than his Atlantic City casinos. For years, the Orange in Chief has been acting like he was wearing some kind of presidential immunity invisibility cloak. I'm the president.
Nobody knows more about trade than me.
Nobody knows the system better than me.
Nobody knows the banking industry better than me.
Nobody knows more about environmental impact statements.
An unprecedented investment will be made from Japan to the United States, and so many jobs will be created. So $1 trillion is the target.
So I can't be touched. He'd basically shout while doing whatever the heck he wanted. Turns out that's not exactly how America works, buddy. When this immunity nonsense finally made it to the Supreme Court, the justices weren't just skeptical. They were practically rolling their eyes so hard they could see their own brains. They started tossing hypothetical scenarios at Trump's lawyer John Sauer that were so ridiculous they made everyone in the courtroom uncomfortable. Justice Sotomayor delivered what can only be described as a verbal knockout punch when she asked Sauer the million-dollar question. Could a president order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival and still claim immunity? Talk about awkward. Sauer squirmed like a worm on a hot sidewalk, unable to give a straight answer because doing so would have torpedoed their entire case. I mean, think about it. If he said, yes, presidents can order hits on rivals, he'd sound insane. If he said, no, then boom, there goes Trump's whole I'm above the law argument. Classic lawyer checkmate moment. But the justices were just warming up. They piled on with increasingly bonkers scenarios. What about organizing a military coup, taking bribes, robbing a bank, and calling it a presidential act? With each question, Sauer looked more like he wanted to disappear into his expensive suit. The most delicious twist in this whole legal soap opera?
What does that mean if it's structured as an official act?
Well, I don't know in the hypothetical whether or not that would be an official act. You'd probably have to have more details to apply the blazing game.
We'll take a look at TikTok.
We're looking at TikTok. We may be banning TikTok.
We're not doing anything with TikTok.
Joe Biden is responsible for banning TikTok.
3 of the justices who ruled against Trump were his own appointees. Brett Kavanaugh and crew apparently decided their oath to America was slightly more important than making Daddy Trump happy. That's gotta sting. Trump's entire defense strategy was basically built on this immunity claim. Without it, he's just a regular civilian who might actually have to face gasp consequences for his actions. You know, like the rest of us peasants do every day. The Supreme Court's 6-3 ruling effectively took Trump's get out of jail free card, ran it through a shredder, set the shreds on fire, and scattered the ashes into the wind. They definitively rejected his argument that presidents are kings who can do whatever they want without consequences. With Trump's get out of jail free card now burned to ashes, you'd think his legal team would have a solid backup plan, right?
But he was the president. He is the commander-in-chief. He talks to his generals all the time. And he told the generals, I don't feel like leaving office. I want to stage a coup. Is that immune?
Perform sex change operation and send him back home.
Not Jimmy anymore, it's Tamara, but I will.
Here's the real kicker. Trump's own lawyer, John Sauer, managed to fumble worse than a quarterback with butterfingers, accidentally scoring the legal equivalent of a touchdown for the prosecution. Picture this. Sauer walks into the Supreme Court with one job: convince 9 of the smartest legal minds in America America that everything a president does, absolutely everything, is protected by immunity. No exceptions, no questions asked. That was the game plan. That's what Trump had been screaming about for years. I'm untouchable. I'm special. Presidential immunity covers everything. But then, under the bright lights and piercing questions from the justices, poor Johnny Boy cracked like an egg on a hot sidewalk. When the pressure mounted, Sauer admitted that actually, some of Trump's actions were just private and not covered by immunity at all. Whoops! You could almost hear Trump's immunity bubble popping all the way from Mar-a-Lago. This wasn't just a little slip-up. This was a catastrophic admission that completely contradicted Trump's entire defense strategy.
Doing it as an investment, no longer a purchase.
Okay.
I didn't want it purchased, but investment I love. And they're going to do a big investment, subject to getting the deal done.
Eggs are a disaster. The Secretary of Agriculture is going to be showing you a chart that's actually mind-boggling what's happened, how low they were with us and how high they are now.
The justices, sensing blood in the water, immediately pounced. If some actions aren't covered by immunity, then which ones exactly? Suddenly, Sauer was squirming worse than a worm on a fishing hook, trying to explain where official duties end and just Trump being Trump begins. Legal experts watching this train wreck unfold couldn't believe their eyes. One compared it to scoring a touchdown for the opposing team. I'm picturing Trump in his gold-plated living room, ketchup-covered hamburger flying across the room when he heard about this betrayal. "You're fired!" echoing throughout the halls as ketchup dripped down the walls. Sauer's blunder did more than just embarrass his client. It completely dismantled Trump's delay strategy. The former president was betting everything on pushing his trials past the election, where he could potentially win and then pardon himself. Talk about a backup plan. But with his own lawyer conceding that some actions aren't immune from prosecution, that strategy is now deader than Trump's healthy eating habits.
Well, it certainly sounds very bad, and that's why the framers have a whole series of structural checks that have successfully, for the last 234 years, prevented that very kind of extreme hypothetical.
I think, I'm always thinking. Do you ever do that? You're sweating and you're thinking and you're trying to figure out.
The admission created an opening for the justices to start differentiating between official presidential duties and Trump's personal conduct, a distinction Trump desperately wanted to avoid. This wasn't just dropping the ball, this was picking up the ball, running the wrong way down the field, and enthusiastically spiking it in your own end zone while your opponents watch in delighted disbelief. So there you have it, folks. The Supreme Court just gave Trump a reality check that's gonna sting for a long time. His legal troubles are now accelerating faster than his golf cart after someone hides his Diet Coke. Without his immunity shield, Trump faces that federal election interference case as a regular citizen.
If I did it, you would be standing up in that chair shouting at me. And you know what I'd do? I'd say, you got me.
To the Constitution. They knew how to. There were immunity clauses in some state constitutions. They knew how to give legislative immunity. They didn't provide immunity to the president.
Legal experts are calling it a legal faceplant for his defense team. The justice's ruling effectively blocks his escape route to avoid accountability. This isn't just about Trump, it's about upholding the rule of law for everyone. Even former presidents with orange tans and massive egos have to play by the same rules as the rest of us peasants.